Hey guys, so we have an update on the Psycho River Killer. If you haven't checked out those series of videos about this crazy harebrained scheme that these young people came up with to essentially off somebody, not even somebody, a husband, a girl and her boyfriend were going to basically off the husband for some insurance money, and they had tried several times, and when they were successful, it was at a remote river park, and then she became basically like the river killer, and she's in jail right now, and they were caught last year, and they had already been sentenced to death, or she had, and her boyfriend had been sentenced to 30 years in prison, but they appealed, and we just got the results of that appeal. So that girl obviously was wearing this false mask to make herself look beautiful or innocent, and it hid an ugly monster within. However, the one mask that can actually make you beautiful for real on the inside, starting with the layers of the skin that are at the level where the collagen factory is of course with our awesome EcoFace LED mask. You get so many lights to cover all of your face. It's going to help with your skin tone, it's going to help with plumpness, it's going to regenerate the collagen, and it is essentially unlimited. It's basically just, there's no creams to buy or anything like that. You just buy it once and you just have your kumbaya time while you're getting more beautiful. Coupon code Seoulite TV for the best deals. So all that coming up, so stay tuned. Okay, so just to quickly recap, literally this girl seemed like she was a con artist and had major antisocial tendencies, which is not like being shy. Antisocial in the clinical psychological definition of being a criminal, having no remorse, and that is essentially the case of the court, that she literally seems to have no conscience or respect for human life. She and her boyfriend, mind you, she was married to the victim, but it seemed like she had just married that guy out of manipulation to take all of his money. And so her boyfriend and her crazy mind was essentially trying to, for over the course of like a year, there were 2 unsuccessful attempts to take his life. One even from trying to poison him with, like the puffer fish, it's a delicacy, and the poison, if you don't handle it right, can kill you. And apparently it's extremely, almost impossible for any normal person to get their hands on the poison. Apparently she was squirting it all up in his soup, and then she was messaging her boyfriend saying like, oh, I don't know why he's not dying yet. Crazy. It didn't work. Then they took him onto like some other like vacation near the water because they knew he wouldn't swim, and it looks like they were trying to see if they can get away with it. And so they were basically on like one of these river raft little huts. Think of like a tiny house that's floating on a raft, and that's where you can go fishing and stuff like that. You're in the middle of a lake. Well, and you also drink and eat and stuff like that. So they got him drunk, and then they tried to roll him into the water while he was passed out drunk. But apparently the water wasn't that deep enough so that he was able to stand. So then that didn't work. Then they decided to take him to the mountains because they wanted to have like some nature time and then go swim in the river, and they were terrorizing him. There's video of it. Check out my other videos. And essentially what happened was that they were able to convince him, the victim, the husband that was being completely psychologically, mentally abused and gaslit, essentially able to gaslight him into taking a dare and jumping, from the cliff, Because if you can swim and if you're somewhat of a thrill seeker, it's like a fun thing to do, to just jump off a little bit of a waterfall and then go into the water and swim. But he couldn't swim. He was deathly afraid. But they were able to essentially manipulate him, shame him, and basically have him try to prove his loyalty to his wife. And basically, she even gaslit him in the sense like, oh, if you're not going to do it, then I'm going to have to do it. Like, she don't have to go jump in any water. Like, there's no reason why anybody needs to go jump in the water. But she kind of set it up where basically like, okay, well then, if you're not going to do it, then I'm going to have to take the burden and responsibility and jump in myself. And then he was so gaslit, saying like, no, I don't want you to do that because, that's not what you want to do and it might be dangerous for you, so I'll go ahead and do it. They had all planned this 4 hours before his life insurance was to expire. This girl started off kind of like her career, maybe. She didn't really have a career, but she had a job in an insurance company. And I think that's where she learned all of these tricks about insurance, because she went on to, like years ago, before she got married, like there was some other guy that she was dating and they went to Thailand and he mysteriously drowned and she was able to collect the insurance money, because I think they did get married. She's been married a few times and she's only like 31. And then so 4 hours before the insurance ran out, he had basically drowned, and they basically said like, oh, he jumped, but we weren't paying attention and we thought that he had already swam out or he was being taken care of, or obviously he didn't know how to swim, so how they think that he was just gonna find his way back to the shore. And she had made up an excuse where she had to run to the car with her friend or something like that to say that she wasn't there, like on the shore, to basically say like, oh, it was an accident, like it was so dark and everybody didn't know what was going on and then he suddenly drowned. And the prosecutors wanted to say that gaslighting actually was a cause that could lead to imprisonment. But what the court did, though, they said that gaslighting is not 100% clear and actually a reason to give somebody the punishment of murder. But what they did say was that they had neglected to save him. Now that kind of brings up some red bells, because neglected to save him. So basically they weren't able to, or the judges decided, no, it's not possible to convict based on, kind of goading and tricking somebody into an action, because in a way they didn't push him. They didn't physically push him. They didn't physically force him into the water. They psychologically manipulated him to do that. So that could probably have a lot of like legal ramifications, a lot of people like tricking people psychologically, making them feel crazy, saying like, I said this. No, I know you never said that. Oh, it just like drives you crazy. And if that were the case, then there would be a lot of lawsuits going on. So they did say though that it looked like it was planned, and they kept pushing like the statement that it was for 800 million won in insurance money. It's an insurance fraud. And it makes me wonder, because if they were basically convicted for not going to save him, if there wasn't the insurance money that was tied to this, and if she were a VIP, I would essentially say that she probably would have gotten away with it. Like, for number one, if she had not taken out any insurance, she really would have gotten away with it, because the only reason she started to get caught was that the insurance claim that she made on her husband was kind of caught up in the review section of the insurance company. They were a little bit suspicious of it, and she started to like, if she just kind of dropped it, they might have probably just said, whatever. If she just dropped it, then they probably weren't going to pay attention to it, but she kept pressing, and she even like filed like legal action saying like, why aren't you giving me my money? 800 million won. We like to say it's about $800,000, but because of like the crazy exchange rate right now and how the Korean won is like going down in the dumper, it's maybe about like $600,000, $700,000. And so she kept pushing, even while she's like on trial for murder, she kept pushing that lawsuit saying like, I need that money. That money is mine, even though she's on trial for murdering her husband for the insurance money. And so the insurance people then contacted the police, and that's where like the big official investigation started happening, because you know how they were in the podunks, like, you know, in the river. That police department, when they came to the site of the accident and then finalized their reports, just wrapped it up as an accident. And that probably gave her even more confidence, saying like, well, that police department over there said it was an accident. Why aren't you giving me my insurance money? But the insurance company they're a lot more careful these days, because there's a lot of insurance fraud. It's about like $1 billion being lost every year to insurance fraud here in Korea. And they were looking at it and they thought that it looked pretty fishy. And so they reported it to a police department in Seoul, or Gyeonggi province, basically like a Seoul outskirt. And they started this investigation, and they just kind of like unearthed more and more and more. And then basically last year they issued a warrant for their arrest, and they were caught. And so it's been about a year that they've been in jail. It's been pretty quick ruling. They've already had the first ruling where basically they got life imprisonment for the girl and 30 years in jail for the boyfriend. And then of course she appealed and saying like, no, that's not fair. And then so this week we got the announcement from the appeals court that they agree with the first court, saying like, look, she a menace. She basically was trying to murder her husband, but the fact that they didn't go back to save her was essentially save him was the reason. And let's put it this way. If she was a VIP, daughter of a very important person, and she didn't have the insurance portion of it where she was trying to fraud the insurance company, I think even if she went to trial, I think she would have gotten away with it. The lawyers and everybody would basically say like, look, she's not responsible for saving her husband. The husband made the choice to jump. How was she to go and save him? So like, why should she be responsible for saving him for an action that he did? So I'm surprised but not surprised at the logic that the court gave, because I could see, like, again, it's wishy-washy based upon how powerful you are. And I think the way that they really needed to make sure she was guilty was because she's effing with the insurance industry and the trust in society, and how she totally violated the moral hazard of the insurance agency by frauding them. But really, what if she was set free, or if she was not given life imprisonment? Essentially, that sends the message to people in Korea that, hey, you can go around, put insurance policies on people, and get rid of them, send them to an early grave, and collect the insurance money. What kind of crazy society is that going to open up? And I think the court is really looking at it from that perspective, because they kept saying it's like the insurance money, the insurance money, insurance money. But that also made me think like, hey, if it weren't for the insurance money, would you have reached the same verdict? And I would say that if there was high profile pressure on the judges, then maybe perhaps, but especially if it was a VIP girl and they really tamped down any kind of media reporting on it, she would have kind of slid through. Kid you not. And so that kind of makes me feel doubly disgusted by this whole process, because she did that and she should get punished, of course. But I thought that the reasoning to me does not make me feel more comfortable and safe in the justice system. It does make me feel a little bit more safe that they are trying to prevent other people from trying to off others just, to collect on insurance. But it seemed like this time around, it squeaked its way around where it seems as if a justice was served, but really she is a underprivileged person, and she's the one that gets a cut. Well, she is psycho, like for bona fide psycho. So of course she should get caught, but there are bona fide psychos who have a lot of connections, power, and money who are still out there after doing such crazy things. And so that kind of scares me. And it really does reemphasize that there's kind of like this untouchable class, and then a class that is made an example of. So anyhow, that is the latest. She may appeal one more time to the Constitutional Court, and so then it basically is up to the Constitutional Court to accept the case or not. And if they accept it, then there will be a trial. They can just reject it, and basically then that verdict that we just got this week will stand, and she will go to jail for the rest of her life. Her lover boyfriend will go to jail for 30 years. We in Korea will be a little bit comforted that if you try to, manipulate insurance to try to send somebody to early grave, then most likely you will also face similar consequences. But it was a little bit unclear whether that will always stick, because I could see how people can wiggle out of what she did. And they did say, looked like it was planned, but I could see how other people can also wiggle out of that. So depending on who the criminal is, I still see people wiggling out, doing the same exact thing she did. And so that does not make me feel any more safe in the long run. But I'm glad this was the decision. Thank goodness. I mean, how crazy would that be if it weren't? All right, guys, what do you think? Put your comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.